rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. I'm getting a little worried about my Texas contingent of Whiskey Warrior P1s. Apparently, one of them is waiting for a broom to spawn in a campground, and these brooms apparently can only be ridden by one person. But I guess if you're waiting for a rocket, you can actually put two people on the rocket. I have literally no idea. I'm kind of wondering if they might have gotten some heat stroke down there or something. I mean, they are in the south, I believe the southwest portion of Texas. Either that or they got a hold of some peyote or shrooms or something somewhere. No. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. They're playing some sort of an online game. And apparently G is, because I'm talking about Ms. T and G. Now, G apparently is in trouble because he's in the man cave. He's in the man cave because apparently he was calling Ms. T a witch by riding her broom that can only fit one person. No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing around. And I guess the broom is a pet now. Oh my Lord. What kinds of things can these people come up with to entertain us? Whew. Anyway. Oh, and apparently G is afraid to ride with Ms. T. I wonder if she's a bad pilot. It's a good thing I'm up here in my little neck of the world. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Oh, if you don't trust your government, you're smart. And if you don't trust a government that is in charge, when the Democrats are in charge, if you especially don't trust your government when Democrats in charge, yeah, you've got a right to. And you are smart times two. I got a couple things that popped just today. Within the last couple of days, maybe. That just even further prove that the Democrats are just literal snakes in the grass. I mean, Republicans are bad, don't get me wrong. And there was a whole, Patriot Act, which allowed for spying on Americans when they're connected to communications with foreign entities. The whole FISA court thing where you don't even have to really have a warrant to spy on people. Yeah, that whole Patriot Act thing, I'm generally against it. Okay, generally against it. But realistically, all I gotta say is, man, if you were sitting here and saying, "Oh yeah, I trust my government. My government's got my interest at heart." Yeah. And especially under the Democrats, you definitely, Obama and Biden were definitely, they did not have Americans' interest at heart at all. All righty, let's go ahead and get things kicked off tonight. I haven't seen Oh, yep, Bonnie's in the chat. So Bonnie, sweetheart, your hubby Fat Paws is up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. He is going to rain down the pledge from the heavenly place that he went to not that long ago. Rest in peace, Sir Fat Paws. So if you are of mind, please stand, remove your hat. If you're wearing one, place your hand over your heart and follow along with our dearly departed Fat Paws as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And of course, I thank him for sending that in before his unfortunate and untimely passing. We, of course, give prayers to him and his soul, and of course to the family, Bonnie and the rest, for their grief during this time. If you would like to have your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. Then address that email to me. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I have 23 of these. I need 26. I'd like to have 26 by the end of 2026. Kind of symmetry there. Plus, I'm into even numbers. Anyway, send yours in. If you haven't done one already, I'd appreciate it if you send yours in. And if you use your phone to record with, you can use the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option. And be able to share it to fans at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation as soon as possible. All right, let's head on to our headline sponsor, which is... yes, there we go. Headline sponsor tonight is the Institute on the Constitution. You can get to their website by going to theamericanview.com. That's theamericanview, all one word, .com, where you will find all kinds of information, and you can help and join the mission to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education from a biblical worldview by 3 steps. Number 1, obviously, is to pray. And if you're stuck on something, you can enter your name and email address, and they will send you a daily prayer so you can pray with them. And don't forget, of course, as you're praying for all kinds of other things, family, friends, the sick, the dearly departed, all of those, you can also, don't forget to pray for your country. We definitely need it. Pray for your country. Do not forget to pray every day. Pray, pray, pray. The second thing, or their second step, is to study. Now, what do you study? Well, you study our United States Constitution to start off with, and they will help you out by allowing you to sign up for a 100% free online course. It is a 12 short lesson course that is delivered directly to your email box once a week. Now, these lessons are 15 to 20 minutes long. They're really not all that long. So, you can go and knock one of those out in a couple of hours and, keep on trucking with your day. But how do you get that? Well, you sign up for it right here. Go to theamericanview.com/study and then put your name first and last and your email address in the box. It's right above my head here in the video. And you click Get Lesson 1 free, and they will email it right to your inbox. They'll email the additional 11 afterward right to your inbox as well. It's nationally recognized. Again, it's 100% free. It's 100% online. It's 100% self-paced. And then when you're done with that, you can go and check out some of their live courses. Well, the courses that they give live. For an example, The Truth of America's Founding in Ridgely, Maryland, coming up in 25 days. You could even pick up the U.S. Constitution course, also in Ridgely, Maryland, in 30 days. And then you can even go to, oh my gosh, the Ontario Convention Center in California. California really needs this. They really need this. They need to learn about their historical founding, the proper historical founding, and the proper U.S. Constitution and all of that stuff. So go and check out all of their online, or not online, but all their courses. And then once you're done with that, believe it or not, that's actually part of the study, or part of the acting phase, is to start by learning and taking classes. But then you can also act by becoming a member, or even better yet, take your newfound knowledge and become an instructor. And you can help them spread the knowledge that you have gained and learned. If you go to the AmericanView.com, click on Become an Instructor, and you'll be presented with these two videos here. One is how to become an IOTC instructor, and the other one is 5 tips for a successful class. And then you can also purchase their instructor kit, which is a comprehensive resource that is completely crafted to empower individuals impassioned about the Constitution share its significance with others. I try and do that on this show, but you can do it yourself. And there is all kinds of stuff there, and you can get that by heading off to their shop. That's right. Go off to their shop. Go and check out their shop. And you can go and check out the U.S. Constitution course. Obviously, you can get other educational resources. They've got all kinds of other student materials, books, covering American history, civics, faith, character, all kinds of things there. You can pick up Self-Evident apparel. Self-Evident is their partner, sister organization, I guess you could say. And you can pick up, obviously, like I just said, the instructor materials. But my personal favorite is this one, this little shop right up here, right above my head, known as the Legacy Library. This is my place because I'm kind of a fan of leather. Don't go anywhere with that one. But I'm kind of a fan of leather. And in the Legacy Library, they've got several leather objects here. One of them is a leather-bound U.S. Constitution book, which I have right here in my hot little hands. This is leather-bound. It has, according to my Whiskey Warrior P1 Rumblers, sexy rounded corners. It has 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. There is stitching that, according to G, says that it's resilient enough to hold 3 Chevy's hand in the thumb sideways position at all times. That is strong. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if something does go wrong with this thing, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested, another dearly departed Whiskey Warrior. Buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved, and my youngest Whiskey Warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you to study for and achieve your civics badge in scouting, not to mention the fact you probably passed that civics test, if they even have those anymore, as well as your naturalization test. You can give this out as a gift. I'm telling you, that 100-year warranty is just fantastic. This is a very well-made book. You can carry around with you every single day and refer to it often, as I do. Head on over to theamericanview.com, click Shop, then click Legacy Library, and you will find this item under the Leather Constitution book. Pick one up for you, your family, your friends, and hey, if you're feeling generous, pick one up for that liberal and give them, or that leftist, either way, about the same, and give them some gastrointestinal distress by touching the U.S. Constitution, because you know how they hate that book. Anyway, head on over to theamericanview.com, check out all of the classes and books and all the other stuff that's there, including the Leather Constitution book. And I thank the Institute of the Constitution for being a sponsor of this show. All right. Well, folks, I don't know if anybody remembers. I do, just because that's the way I roll. But a while ago, there was this whole dust-up that started the slew of immigration law, legal challenges to Trump's immigration law. And you'll recall, and I know this is digging deep because there's a lot of stuff that's happened since this, but you'll recall that there was a flight, I think it was actually 2 planes, but there were flights that were sent from, I believe it was Washington, D.C., after they rounded up a whole bunch of Tren de Aragua illegal alien criminals. They rounded them all up, and they sent them via plane. And the whole dust-up was because of the fact that Judge Boasberg, the idiot, the leftist who is actually an activist in black robes and not a true jurist, he went ahead and issued a verbal order first, and then issued a written order. And the written order came out after the plane had left. And the Judge Boasberg was like, well, wait a minute. You guys need to bring that plane back. And of course, the administration said, wait, it's already over international waters. You have no jurisdiction out there. So, no, we're not bringing it back. And Boasberg, of course, got all uppity and was like, oh, my gosh, you decided to totally ignore me. And so I'm putting you in contempt of court for those flights. Well, it finally went through and hit the D.C. Circuit Court. Finally hit the appeals court. Now, that particular case has gone all the way up to the Supreme Court and back down again. But this one was the contempt of court charge, and it came in after the Supreme Court sent things back. And so now the D.C. court, the D.C. Circuit Court, which is the first step in appeals court, the 2 judges on the D.C. Circuit Court, the appellate court, not the D.C. Circuit Court, I'm sorry, but the appellate court, basically told Judge Boasberg to pound sand. In a 2-1 decision, the appellate court ordered Boasberg to terminate the criminal contempt proceedings in the case. Now, during the authoring of the majority opinion, the crux basically came down to this. The Supreme Court vacated the district court's order because it was premised on a legal error, and the plaintiff's suit was brought in the wrong court. Now, you'll recall that I said it went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court basically said, hey, you dorks, the people were actually in Texas, and so why is this showing up in a D.C. court system? Oh, and by the way, it shouldn't even be in a federal court system. It should be in immigration court. And so they sent it back and said, this is ridiculous. Well, the district court, of course, just kept going because Boasberg's a moron. And they continued to hold the government officials in criminal contempt unless they complied with the now vacated order. Okay. So follow with me on this. So they sent the people to the Tren de Aragua folks to Venezuela. They get this order that says, hey, you got to turn around the planes. Well, we can't turn around the planes. The planes are already in international waters. We can't turn them around. You're in contempt of court. It goes all the way up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says, yeah, you guys did it in the wrong court, so the whole thing is just null and void. Oh, no. My contempt order is still in effect. Yeah. The appeals court was like, come off it, please. This is ridiculous. And they even just to put an exclamation point on it, one of the judges who wrote a concurrence noted that, hey, after the written order, the government took action that the oral order had arguably prohibited, but the written order did not prohibit that. So if the effect of the broader oral order had survived the narrower written order, then the government's conduct would raise a host of difficult questions, because oral orders, by the way, are not binding. You don't get oral orders binding in court. And so before issuing the oral order, the district said, I will issue a minute order memorializing this so you don't have to race to write it down. And this judge, his name is Judge Walker, within his concurrence, he goes, in my view, the district's court's you don't have to write it down line simplifies this otherwise complicated case, because it made the written order supersede the oral order. And therefore, since the government did not violate the oral order while it was in effect, and at no point did the government violate the written order that, of course, superseded it, well, that means that you can't really hold them in contempt. Oh, my gosh. This would be fantastic for a show like, I don't know, Night Court or something along those lines. This is a comedy. This is a complete freaking comedy. Oh my gosh. And Judge Boasberg, yeah, he needs to be investigated, honestly. He really does. He needs to be investigated, because this is a bunch of bullshit. Sorry, I'm just earmuffs for the kiddies. Anyway. So there you go. Now, yeah. Now there is a possibility that there's going to be a petition. Okay, a petition for a rehearing, meaning that, hey, I want to, because this was a 3-judge panel, and so the possibility is there that they could basically appeal the appeal and say, no, I need a full hearing for the full court, rather than just this 2-to-1 situation. So, yeah. And by the way, this isn't ruling anything on the underlying legality of the Alien and Enemies Act, which is what Trump used to get rid of the Trinidad people in the first place. So, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, we need to put him in we need to have him show up in either the People's Court, Night Court, let's see, Judge Judy, Judge Deneen, Judge, what is that? Judge Brown, any of those judges. I mean, how many freaking kangaroo courts do we have available? Anyway. What a mess. What a mess. This guy should just quit. Anyway. Yeah, Judge Joe Brown. I think I've named them. Anyway. All right. Well, a disturbing report came out today, and this, realistically, it's disturbing, but it's nothing really surprising. I mean, let's just be completely honest here. Okay? Let's just be completely honest here. The Biden, Obama, even all the way back to Clinton, by the way. So this is not just like a new Democrat kind of thing to weaponize the Department of Justice or the IRS or any other regulatory agency of government to go after conservative people, conservative values, conservative structures, principles, etc. Now, you recall during the Biden years, Biden weaponized the IRS to go after churches and other 501c3 operations, or, operational businesses, I guess, in particular, ones that were very conservative in nature, and had the IRS target them. Well, now we have a similar case here with the Biden DOJ. Because apparently a report came out that the Biden DOJ worked with pro-abortion groups to target pro-life Americans. Now, they released, the DOJ, the Trump DOJ, released an internal report that is accusing the Biden administration of weaponizing federal law against pro-life activists. Coordinating with abortion rights groups to track and prosecute them while treating similar conduct on the other side far more lightly. This review runs nearly 900 pages and draws from more than 700,000 internal records. Now, this internal report concludes that the federal prosecutors pursued pro-life defendants much more aggressively, relied on outside activist groups to build cases. Even that's kind of questionable. And in some instances, actually broke the law by withholding evidence from defense attorneys. Folks, when you're a defense attorney, you can request all of the records of the prosecution. The prosecution is allowed zero surprises. Zero surprises in any of this, okay? And they broke the law by withholding evidence. According to the report, DOJ prosecutors worked directly with abortion rights organizations, including ones like the National Abortion Federation, Planned Parenthood, the Feminist Majority Foundation, to help identify and track activists before the charges were actually filed. Now, those groups provided real-time alerts about protests, social media posts. Remember that whole censorship thing that the Biden administration was doing? Yeah. And travel movements across state lines with information feeding into search warrants and ultimately prosecutions. Yeah. Those efforts went further than just general monitoring. In one instance, according to the report, an abortion rights group compiled a 137-page dossier ahead of an anti-abortion event that included the attendees' schedules, lodging details, home addresses, photographs of family members, and driver's license numbers. And, of course, the report states that the prosecutors crossed the line in how those cases were handled. See, because they knowingly withheld that evidence that defense counsel requested in order to prepare an affirmative defense, they cannot do that. The prosecution has to, by law, hand over all of their evidence. Legally. Yeah. In at least one case noted, a DOJ official told defense counsel that he did not keep the requested records and would not provide them. The report found that that statement itself was false. The same official had already shared substantially identical information with the National Abortion Federation. Yeah. But it goes even further than this, because the clearest divide appears in sentencing. The report says that prosecutors sought an average of 26.8 months in prison for the pro-life defendants, compared to roughly half that, or just a little less than half of that, for those accused for attacks on pro-life organizations. So think about this. If a pro-lifer were to attack a Planned Parenthood facility, prosecutors would ask for a maximum sentence or a much larger sentence, which they have every legal right to propose potential sentencing for somebody. And they would go and they would ask for twice what they would if it were a activist, an abortion activist, attacking a pro-life center or a church or whatever. Yeah. Pro-life activist Mark Hoke, if you recall, was the Catholic father of 7 who was arrested at his home in rural Pennsylvania by the 16 armed FBI agents, some of them carrying rifles, despite an option for him to self-surrender. Internal emails show that the lead prosecutor pushed for the indictment despite colleagues raising concerns and acknowledging the litigation risks. Now, he was acquitted by a federal jury in January of 2023, and the DOJ later settled a civil claim related to the arrest. So, there you go. These findings have already triggered changes inside the DOJ. 3 civil cases have been dismissed with prejudice, meaning that they can't be brought again. New limits now restrict FACE Act prosecutions to extraordinary circumstances involving significant aggravating factors. The lead prosecutor on those cases, Sanjay Patel, was fired, along with 3 others that were tied to Biden-era enforcement. President Trump also issued pardons for 23 pro-life activists convicted under the prior administration. Internal reviews have been made for possible criminal review or professional discipline for all of these people. Folks, these Democrats, these leftist lunatics, they don't care. They don't care about the rules. They don't care about standards or anything else with regards to this. Okay. They don't care about any of this. This is ridiculous. This is totally ridiculous. And it also demonstrates a pattern of abuse because remember, the DOJ under the Biden administration during the Biden years, especially with regards to things like COVID, were going after and censoring. The Biden DOJ and CIA and FBI and everything else were communicating with tech companies. Mark Zuckerberg, you'll recall, admitted it and said that, oh yeah, the DOJ or the government has been telling us what's coming or what's potentially coming and so on and so forth. And especially when they censored the Hunter Biden laptop story, which turned out to be true. So, yeah. Anyway, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely, completely ridiculous. And just shows you that our government, you can never trust them. Never trust them, even under Republican control. Definitely don't trust them there. But definitely do not trust them when they're under Democrat control. I got more on what the Biden administration did because there was another surprise revelation here that popped. But first, I got to talk to you about Rumble Premium. It'll come up. There we go. You've probably noticed that Rumble is growing fast and it's not slowing down. They're building a real alternative to big tech that puts creators first and actually protects free speech. And now there's this thing called a Rumble Premium, which is an easy way to upgrade your experience on Rumble. With Premium, you get ad-free viewing across the platform. No pre-rolls, no interruptions, just the content that you came for. Plus, Premium members also unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, behind-the-scenes drops, and more from your favorite creators. Right now, Rumble is offering $10 off an annual subscription. All you need to do is go to rumble.com/premium. That's PREMIUM. Rumble.com/premium and use the promo code STUDIO, STUDIO, at checkout to get that $10 off your annual subscription. That's rumble.com/premium, promo code STUDIO for that $10 off the annual subscription. No ads, more freedom, and content that you actually care about. That's the deal. Go to rumble.com/premium, use promo code STUDIO to get $10 off an annual subscription. Well, apparently, the Biden admin, and I think this should invalidate, realistically, what I'm about to tell you, should invalidate the immunity that the vaccine or the fake vaccine manufacturers have by law. This should invalidate it completely. So Joe Biden, when he got in as president, he wanted one thing more than almost anything else, and that is to be remembered as the president who beat COVID. Now, his strategy was pretty obvious: go in on everything, and especially pushing the COVID vaccines, which I thought was kind of interesting, considering that it was Donald Trump who created the platform for the vaccines to be made by opening up Operation Warp Speed and removing all the red tape, also giving immunity to the manufacturers for anything that might have come out of it. But here's the problem. That immunity, if I recall correctly, was conditional upon the fact that the vaccine manufacturers did not knowingly create a health problem. Well, there's a Senate investigation that's going on right now in terms of what the administration may have known with regards to the COVID vaccines. This Senate investigation apparently has uncovered that the Biden administration officials at both the FDA as well as the CDC knew about a significant stroke risk that was tied specifically to Pfizer's bivalent COVID-19 booster in people over the age of 65. Now, Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, who is a chairman of the Senate's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, formerly notified HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. of the findings in a letter that he sent, backed by roughly 2,000 pages of federal documents. So, by the way, here's kind of how it broke out. This is part of the letter. On August 31st, 2022, the Food and Drug Administration authorized Pfizer COVID-19 bivalent booster. By late October of 2022, so that's basically 2 months, the HHS, that's Health and Human Services, reported that approximately 14.4 million people 12 years and older had received the booster. In November of 2022, federal health officials became aware of a, listen to this, statistically significant safety signal for ischemic, that's ISCHEMIC, stroke among individuals age 65 and older following the administration of the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 bivalent booster. So for those of you that don't know, an ischemic or ischemic, I don't know how it's really pronounced, Stroke occurs when a blood vessel supplying the brain becomes blocked, preventing blood and oxygen from reaching parts of the brain. Despite months-long persistence of this safety signal in multiple vaccine safety surveillance systems, Biden's FDA and CDC did not issue any formal health alerts, nor did they advise the public to avoid the vaccine, which isn't really a vaccine because we found out later that it didn't block anything and that you could still get it and so on and so forth. Anyway, I digress. Instead, federal health officials continued to tell the public the vaccine was safe. But behind closed doors, they initiated multiple studies and statistical analyses, including a so-called stroke project, to investigate the validity of their assertion. These investigations continued through at least September of 2025. Now, according to the backup information, between November of 2022 and March of 2023, there were seven separate analyses of incoming data that all flagged the exact same stroke signal for the exact same vulnerable population. They not only ran these things and did these analyses, they had 7 separate analyses. Seven of them all came to the same conclusion. But instead of warning everybody, the Biden administration buried the data, hired a private contractor. In February of 2023, HHS brought in Lucos LLC to run an internal program that they called the Stroke Project, which was a deeper dive into the data while continuing to tell the public that the vaccines were safe. As Ron Johnson put it, quote, from the initial detection of the safety signal in late 2022 through contractor-led case review, the VAERS data mining analysis, and follow-up VSD studies referenced in the MMWR publications through at least September of 2024, health officials continued to say the vaccine was safe, while simultaneously searching for evidence to support that assertion. Yeah. And here it is again. Here's another cover-up. And by the way, it fits a broader pattern because if you recall back in December, the Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Marty Makary revealed that the Biden administration had hid data from the public about the links between the mRNA COVID vaccines and myocarditis, especially in children. You remember that? Makary told NBC News, quote, "We have done more to study myocarditis and to go back and look at the deaths of children from the COVID vaccine. Internal data submitted on myocarditis, we found that the Biden administration was sitting on data on myocarditis in young people, and that was not made public either." Yeah. Now you add to that, of course, the people like myself. I mean, I wasn't all that outspoken, but every single time I called out the vaccines not being a vaccine or anything else, YouTube would flag my video. A couple of times they actually removed it. I think X flagged some of my posts and potentially removed them before it was bought by, well, that was back when it was under Jack Dorsey with the Twitter. Yeah. In fact, I'll be really surprised if I don't get a YouTube strike or something and being suspended from YouTube over this particular topic. cannot trust the government, period. I don't care who's in charge, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, but you especially need to be extremely cautious when it is a a Democrat in charge. Republicans, they're not going to necessarily, they're not going to necessarily be as bad as the Democrats, but you never should trust your government. Our founding fathers all talked about not trusting the government. And they actually built the Constitution in a specific way, which has been blown all to hell already by none other than Democrats, starting with Woodrow Wilson and moving on from there, FDR and some of the others, all the way up to recently Obama and Biden. Obviously, Obama, I can rule with a phone and a pen when he literally can't, period. But anyway, well, I revealed to you last night about the revelation that the Ukraine impeachment accuser was essentially, well, I heard it through a friend of a friend of a friend. I am a Democrat. I'm a hardcore Democrat. I actually worked with Joe Biden when he was in charge of Ukraine. I have all kinds of biases and everything else. Yeah. Well, you remember that? Well, the FBI has now said, you know what? We're going to review this. And we're going to take a close look at these allegations. And we're going to see, because this guy, well, I don't know if he still works there or if it's a guy or a girl. I don't even know. But basically showing us that the CIA analyst who prompted the 2019 impeachment raised concerns about his or her bias, truthfulness, and hearsay. And by the way, too, that report also, and I didn't catch this, but that report also revealed that the director of national intelligence at the time went ahead and changed the standard when this came in, changed the standard and backdated that change to make it so that the standard of using things like, second and third hand information in a court of law considered hearsay and inadmissible. But here basically said, we're going to backdate that and allow that to go through. And he testified to that under oath that, I made that change. And I know it looks really bad. I know. But, I went ahead and made the change, and now it's like, history. Yeah, right. Folks. If you thought Watergate was bad, oh my Lord. All of this is even worse. And it's not just, see, the sad part about this is it's not just one instance. It's not like Watergate where it was one instance. It was one thing that happened. Here, we've got multiple things that are all happening under a Democrat-led administration. And every single one of them is doing nothing but hurting the American public, going after conservatives and religious folks, and get Trump. That's it. If you haven't figured out by now, the Democrat Party actually hates America. Mark Levin wrote a book, Democrat Party Hates America. He is right. The Democrat Party hates America. They are I don't want to call them the Antichrist, but they are definitely Satanistic in nature. They want to tear apart America completely. They want to get rid of our principles and values. They want to get rid of our religious upbringing and our religious beliefs. They want to get rid of all of that stuff in order to control you. That's what they're looking for. And they came pretty damn close to doing it here through Biden, basically Biden. Well, because of these new allegations on the Ukraine impeachment, Trump is actually calling on Dershowitz, who was his lawyer during that impeachment. He tells Dershowitz, he says, hey, you know what? I think you need to pursue to have the impeachment itself expunged from the record. I'm going to be honest with you. Considering the fact that impeachment, the only time that we've really had an impeachment and subsequent non-removal was Bill Clinton. And that was over a factual nature. I'm not exactly sure if there is any kind of like precedent to go and have the impeachment expunged, or even what the process would be, because I mean, I'm pretty familiar with the Constitution, and I don't seem to recall, and this is because of the fact that the idea of impeaching the president was like, oh my gosh, that should never ever happen, but if it does, here's what it is. And I don't know if there's like a reversal process here. Maybe this could end up being like constitutional amendment style. Hey, if we falsely accuse the president, we get to pull it back. I mean, you do have the 2 impeachments, or was it 3? Anyway, the point is, folks, hey, you know what? Alan should. Dershowitz should absolutely go back and try to get this. I mean, we are so far off the reservation right now. We are completely off the rails of what not only the Constitution was supposed to be, but also everything that the Democrats have been doing, not only to Donald Trump, but to the American people themselves. And, you know, illegal aliens and the interpretation of the 14th Amendment and, you know, dealing with abortion and all of these things that the leftists have been doing to us for decades has all taken us completely out of the constitutional boundaries and the purpose and the where we were supposed to be as a country. We are completely off the rails here. They impeached him for a freaking phone call. They impeached him over a collusion hoax that was generated by the opposing party. Now, why don't we see people who were in the opposing party who have been supporting all of this, who created this stuff? Why are we not seeing perp walks right now? Why are we not seeing these people getting taken in by the government? I mean, I personally would feel as though plots like this would be classic cases of treasonous behavior. You know, I would have to go into my dictionary to look up treason, but I'm pretty sure that the law kind of says conspiracy and treason are sort of tied together. Conspiracy and treason. And this was definitely a conspiracy and might even have led to this is all leading to a possibility. Hey, they look to overthrow the government, the duly elected government. This is ridiculous. I don't know about you, but I am kind of ticked off about it, and I will never let this go. That's why I will never vote for a Democrat. I don't care if they even clean up their act and all of a sudden become the most American flag-waving, American apple pie-loving, you know, God and guns and everything else like they used to be. I will never vote for a Democrat. I never have, and I never will. Speaking of Democrats, and especially of idiots, in this particular case, this is a socialist. In the final minutes, as we kind of wind things down, yeah, I'm a little hot. My blood pressure raised on that one. I'll admit that. Anyway, according to the New York Post, Ma'am Danny, the socialist, Marxist, Muslim mayor of New York City, he unveiled his new plan to pay for the first city-owned grocery. You want to know how much they're going to pay for it? Oh, it's $30 million to build this grocery from the ground up. It's supposed to be in East Harlem's longstanding La Marqueta, officials confirmed. And by the way, I just want to let you know that if you go into this city-owned grocery store, oh yeah, you're not going to be walking in and being able to like everything be on low prices. Oh no. Oh no. He lied to you about that. He lied to you about that because apparently this is going to be only on specific foodstuffs. Will you be allowed? Specific basics. I'm guessing things like flour, bread, milk, cheese. You know, I don't know for sure, but those are the things that I'm guessing. Maybe, for an example, some of the stuff that is on the child programs. Okay? You know, that you can go and I think they call it WIC here in Washington. But anyway, yeah, this whole idea that he said, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and we're going to build this new store, grocery store. And yeah, once we're going to go and build this grocery store, yeah, by the way, it's also going to cost twice what the priciest union-driven construction costs would be, according to Adam Leodey, Lehodey, Lehodey, who is an expert at the Manhattan Institute, who basically said, hey, your standard size 25,000 square foot grocery store should only cost about $15 million to build. Why are they charging you $30 million? That's exceptionally high. And he's like, considering land prices are a significant part of the capital costs for the new construction, the city has announced that rents will be waived. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Ma'am Danny himself has proposed spending $70 million in taxpayer money for constructing these envisioned 5 city-owned grocery stores. This location is the first site selected. Oh, it's going to be a brand new building, Bonnie. Brand new building. Just saying. Anyway, there's supposed to be another grocery store that's scheduled to be open by the end of this year, with all 5 ready for shoppers by the end of Ma'am Danny's first term in 2029, according to the schedule. Yeah. Anyway. Ma'am Danny is also looking for scouring and is currently scouring the city for locations that don't require a full ground up build. Oh, it's the taxpayers. Who's paying for the said building to be built? It's the taxpayers of New York City. I'm just telling you right now. Now, keep in mind, there have been city-owned, government-owned grocery store attempts here in other states that have failed. I say that again, that have failed. Let me say that one more time, that have failed elsewhere in the country. Yeah. Anyway. All right, really quickly, only because I want to make sure that people in California understands this. You know, there have been a lot of people on social media that have been posting the $6 and $7 gas in California, and they're saying, oh, this is all because of Trump. Well, I hate to tell you this, but according to gas prices in California, Democrats themselves don't tell you that according to the U.S. Oil and Gas Association, all of this is because California actually makes more per gallon of gas in the taxes that they collect than the oil companies actually do in profit. Yeah, California collects more in taxes on a gallon of gas than the oil companies do in profit. And things like Gavin Newsom's press office says, while America suffers, Chevron profits. And it's like, no, Chevron is not profiting. You guys are. You guys are. Yeah. So, the state of California collects about 71 cents per gallon of gas. And the average profit that a company like Chevron that brings in is roughly 20 cents per gallon, depending on the quarter. And by the way, that figure is before taxes. Yeah. Yeah. And it might even be higher now that they've even raised taxes down there. Okay. Whatever. Anyway, keep voting for those Democrats, though. I'm just saying, keep voting for those idiots. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor. If you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or in 3 Chevy's case, a thumb sideways with that wonderful stitching. A thumb sideways across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night for Whiskey Wednesday right here on American Perspective. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.